We are live.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. So we were just talking about,
My amazing brain functionality.
yeah, that's what we were talking about. Your amazing brain functionality. I can't, it, I can maybe do it
Because
for
it's
like,
not. That's ironic. Just in case anybody's like, well, let me just check the first 30 seconds of this video.
but I really notice it if I don't sleep. I can maybe do 1 day, 2 days, and then I need to sleep.
Oh, I slept loads. I mean, not loads, but I mean, I slept what? Not that much, actually.
Like if it's 5 hours, I find that hard.
Yes.
But then it does, if you're a
But
parent,
that's not the topic of today.
no, it's not the topic of
But
today,
we
but
can talk, but we could talk about that.
what, sleep, brain
Yeah.
function?
Yes, we could.
We could talk about anything with
I
those
think we
kind of
could
people.
talk about it.
We could talk about anything, but we are going to
Just
talk
the
about.
managing editor and like the content director just left, so we just left our own devices. Nobody's telling us what to talk about.
We could talk about
Well,
sleep.
you
and
telling us what to talk about. I'm hoping, because otherwise,
we could talk about
this would go nowhere.
sleep and creativity and stuff like that.
But no, we were going to talk about LinkedIn posting.
Oh, that too. It's all related as far as I'm concerned.
Sure.
But it does this thing about sleep and creativity and
you read something about that a while back. We talked about it before, didn't we?
I'm sure we did. No, we talked about creativity. I mean, these are the creative sessions, but I don't think we necessarily talked about sleep.
I thought we had, but anyway.
We don't have kids. I think if I had
children,
children,
yeah, no, they would change.
It would be so different. Life. I don't know, but parents.
The little I've spent with my nieces and nephews this summer of various ages, I'm amazed that parents manage to get anything done at all.
Yeah.
That when they get things done, and I was talking to a friend in common this week, and just the fact that he managed to get stuff together is just. I mean, the day if I have kids, I think I would not be able to. I mean, then I would have to, because I guess you have to somehow take care of them, and somehow also make enough of a living to buy diapers and shit.
One of my colleagues
and put money in their college fund, I guess, things like that.
She's got
let alone like I don't even have a retirement fund anyhow.
One of my colleagues, I think her son is like 5 or 6 or something, maybe a bit younger, and she says like trying to do anything with him is like trying to do stuff with a drunk person.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, because they change their minds all the time.
Let's go over here. Okay, we need to get in the car. No, let's just like.
Oh no, but that's the other thing. So okay, that's true. And the 5-year-old. So you either lead the 5-year-old, or you be led by a 5-year-old.
Yep.
And you may have to. So this is different parenting options. I don't know how I'll end up, and I'm sure I'm going to have differing opinions about how to do things with the mom, probably because just I expect it. But all that said, I'm one that doesn't believe in being led by babies. I don't. The whole baby-led thing, I think, is just.
Is that an actual thing? Baby-led thing?
Baby-led parenting is a thing. Yeah, it's very popular these days.
Okay.
Oh, you look surprised. We do have friends that are in that vein, generally speaking.
It's not that I'm surprised by it. It's just that I don't think I would do that.
Oh no, I'm not going to do that. So all that to say that yes, the 5-year-old wants to go on all sorts of places, and the moment where it's like time to go in the car, you take the 5-year-old and you put them in the car.
Correct.
So yes, they will not be happy about it because they wanted to do something else, and there might be a little bit of a drama. But if you just wait and follow the 5-year-old, you're never going anywhere. Now, it seems easier than it actually is. I realize that. From far away, because again, not a parent.
Well, we're talking as uncles, and I think
I know I can on a day-to-day basis when I give the kids back to their parents, I'm like, I'm full of like newfound admiration for them every time.
Yep.
And it depends. Most of my nieces and nephews are really cool, but one of them was a 5-year-old this summer, and you have to. I mean, in this case,
Are they actually 5?
Yeah.
Oh, they actually are 5. Okay.
Yeah, one of them is 5. So I was referring to the 5-year-old. You're not our parent. I can do whatever I want. No, you cannot. You cannot do whatever you want.
Having said that, sometimes I behave like a 5-year-old.
I'm sure I do too.
Yeah, and all the training we've done, it was fascinating for me to notice how much I can revert to that kind of behavior.
But we all do, don't we?
Just yeah, but we're not always aware of it. So there's
Generally not, no.
I got getting irritated at the smallest thing, but it's very, very interesting, very interesting. And I suppose as a teacher, I see it a lot more. I haven't seen
young
meltdowns.
kids behavior and teenage behavior for sure.
Yeah.
Well, you teach teenagers, so you have all flavors of.
Yeah, and we have
flavors. I don't know if you have all of them, but
well, there's a range, but we are linked with pre-prep and prep schools, so we do see the younger ones coming over, and the only
prep
difference
school is before high school.
Yeah, prep schools, but well, in a fee-paying setting, prep school is before high school, before secondary school, primary school.
So and it's the equivalent of a middle school, but for.
Okay. So it's the equivalent of a primary school. Now in here, primary school would be age 5 to 11. But middle school, I think, is it kind of overlaps, and secondary school starts at age 11 to 18 here. But I think middle school can go from 11 to 13, maybe.
Something like that, yeah.
It's different in different places, and there are some.
In France, it's 11 to. So there's 4 years of it. It's what France calls collège. So there's primary school.
Yep.
To age 10, 11, or 11, 12, and then you start the collège, and that's 4 years of it.
Oh, and then it's high school.
And high school, and then there's 3 years of high school.
Okay. Yeah, that's
why it's split this way in different like you go not to the same building. I don't know.
Yeah, it's all
they just organized it that way. Some of them do both, but anyhow, whatever.
I think that I'm going to make a segue and a link here. You ready?
Please, let's.
So it's interesting being around teenagers and their creativity. They want to bounce all over the place, and the school does narrow it down. And then if you want
to kill the creativity,
it's true. But then if you want to have a great CV or go on a great job hunt or post on LinkedIn, you need to have a kind of, because I've been explaining, I did a whole workshop with my sixth form all about posting on LinkedIn and being on LinkedIn and explaining
I don't think you would ever see that in a French high school, maybe a private one. I don't know, because you're in a private school. So
yeah, but I mean, it's a workshop that could work. It only works with a certain
I really doubt that anybody in France, the way you teach business and psychology, I don't think happens in France at all in a high school level. And I don't think we do LinkedIn workshop. Anyhow,
it might be
what
me.
Did you just want to say about it?
It might be me or it might be them. But I found myself going back to fundamentals. Forget LinkedIn, forget CV. Can you articulate an example of something you've done that's produced a particular result that's relevant to whoever you're talking to?
Oh, right. I mean, that's probably, so the reason we're saying this is, wait, did I say that before we started recording?
You did a little bit. Who knows?
The fact that I'm doing a session with people with students on Friday.
You didn't say that live, I don't think.
No, I don't think. Anyhow, so on Friday, I'm doing workshop sessions for students in the advertising communication school where I'm teaching on that topic. So it's a bit broad. It just, basically with one person at the school, they were looking to have a few sessions in English because it's French speaking, but some of the students, they want to vary and they have an international section. So they wanted to have, and they have this 3-day thing, which is called the professional days or something like that, or professionalizing days. And so the person in charge called me from a recommendation from somebody else at the school, and who didn't know me. So I just did explain who I am, my blurb, which is a long-ish blurb, just to explain where I come from, what I've done, all that. And she's like, wow, okay, well, you should do that in the workshop. I'm like, do what? Exactly.
Just talk about your journey.
Exactly. Talk about your journey. I was like, that's perfect. We don't need anything else. They're going to come with their CVs. You can talk about your CV, talk about your journey, talk about what you do. So it's broadly about international opportunities, working abroad, CV writing, LinkedIn presence, like personal branding type stuff. So it's broad, but it's a 1 hour. I have 4 1-hour workshops with apparently should be 10 to 12 students each back to back.
That's a good number.
It's a good 10 to 12 is a good number. Yeah. It's a pretty good number. And I was just looking this week at whether I should prepare anything. And it's looking like I don't really need to. And just like you said, I would not be surprised. And it's, I don't know, how long was your workshop or is your workshop?
So it's with 80, almost, yeah, it's about 86 formers. And
yeah, 80 is a lot.
Although a bunch of them have been off ill. So it was approaching 70. And when I did it, there's 2 things.
So how long was it for?
I did a whole thing on LinkedIn that would an hour and a half, maybe a bit longer,
okay,
with breaks and exercises and ideas and blah blah blahs. But I think
that your idea of going back to the basics, which I'm sure they do not know, of writing and telling something that was very clear of like, I did this, it did that, produced that result, why it's interesting. Is and going back to those kinds of basics, because I'm sure seeing how the students are, they just don't know that. Nobody's taught them.
No, they don't. And sometimes I think that they think they don't have anything to say. And it was interesting because I asked them to, talk amongst themselves and come up with a situation, the action, the result, and what they learned from it, kind of thing. And one of them very facetiously said that I was playing rugby and that I didn't get the ball, and it meant that I got smashed to the ground in a tackle. And I said, well, what did you learn from that? And he said, well, that don't expect the other person to pass me the ball or whatever, or don't expect them to make a good pass. And then I said, well, you can still use that. You can say you can learn the importance of communication on the sports field. If you're not communicating properly, then there's going to be a consequence. That's a great example of that. So as much as they were trying to be awkward, you can use literally any examples from your life to make a point, as long as you explain it in the right way and it's relevant to whatever the situation is.
Yeah.
And because I think some of the pupils I teach think they're either not very good at anything, don't have anything to say. I don't know. I don't know. That's what they say. But we've all got something useful we can say. And then hearing you or hearing one of our examples helps. But then once you've got the examples, then you can talk about formatting, because you've been experimenting with different formats on LinkedIn. How did you do that slide thingy? I saw
that was funny, because I had seen several other people post that way, and I suddenly thought, and I was toying with the idea for a while, and I was like, okay, I need to get around to playing with this thing. Born out of the urgency of needing to pay rents with new gigs and clients. So that's also why I started posting on LinkedIn more than anything else, is just getting off my, just getting active and getting out there in a way that I've been really lazy and just not wanted to do very much in terms of social media, personal branding, blah, blah, blah. All that to say, so that's something that I had started working on the previous week that I hadn't finished, and I decided to just publish it. But that also was mixed up with a couple of other things, because I attended, which is also something we can talk about. I attended an advertising award ceremony on Monday.
It was in French, so I didn't really. I'd like to hear about that.
Yeah. So I posted in 3 different ways this week.
Oh wow!
By that I mean I posted a post.
You did
a carousel post, the slidey thing.
Okay.
So the secret to the slidey thing is actually you need to save a document as a PDF, page by page, and it will automatically load it as a You have to format it for that, and
Really?
there's a format for that on Canva.
Okay.
And so I made a Canva. And what did you think of it, by the way? In terms of, I did this a little, I mean, quickly. It took me, of course, a lot longer than I thought, because as soon as you start working on Canva, I'm like, oh yeah, of course, I don't have a design layout. I have to make one. What kind of a design layout? You know, is it okay? Does it look professional enough?
So let me. There's a few points here that I want to make,
and then I can tell you how I came up with a post. But I wanted to play around with the carousel thingy because I've seen other people post that way and it looks cool. So
all you create it in Canva, saved it as a PDF, put it on LinkedIn, and it did it automatically.
Mm-hmm.
And
if you start a post on LinkedIn,
and
then you can upload a document.
Mm-hmm.
So you upload a document, and if it's a PDF page, it'll automatically like populate as a slide.
As a carousel. Okay.
Yeah, carousel.
Interesting.
Exactly.
And then because Canva as a free tool, Canva's amazing.
And yeah, as a free tool is amazing. And you can save the same image by image and then put it as a Instagram carousel if you want.
Yeah. So one of our friends does a lot of Instagram posts like that.
Does he? Okay.
Yeah, he does.
I just don't. I haven't opened Instagram in weeks. Actually, that's not exactly true. I opened it the other day, but on my browser on the computer, I'm old, to do research because I was looking for somebody's Instagram and I needed the link. But yeah, it's funny. I caught up with friends visiting from the US yesterday, and they're like, I haven't seen you on Facebook or anything. I'm like, yeah, no, and it was the same for LinkedIn. I'm making more of an effort for LinkedIn because I'm actually
I think this
filling
is
my new business pipeline, getting to be known, making an effort to write in French, which I should do a lot more frequently, of course.
There's so much here because I'm noticing I'm using different platforms for different things. So Twitter is I only post about teaching. Or I might interact
I've stopped
about teaching.
Twitter. I'm like not looking at it, and even less so since Elon Musk took over. I'm not even opening it.
And then Facebook is kind of just random, stupid friendship stuff. Instagram, I actually quite like and tends to be a bit more personal, but not really teacher based, just personal.
If I could eliminate all the people I'm following and redo it entirely, that would be great. I wanted to do that with Twitter, and I quickly gave up. And I would give up on. I don't even like the time it takes to do that. Just
well, there's a lot. The Canva's great, and it takes.
Yeah, Canva's great.
It does. It's a really great tool, and there's something else I want to tell you about that. I'll tell you what's going on at school in a bit. But the carousel post that you did, I thought it was really good. And it really got me thinking about, and because I posted a comment, I don't know if you saw the comment I wrote.
I think so.
The comment I wrote was, you asked if there's anything people would add. And I said, I would add that we underestimate how good we are at things because we don't always realize how good we are at things.
Yes, that's true. And you know what? It was, I hesitated with different things to add. And one of them I thought as a section, because of course I just decided arbitrarily that it was a 5-point thing to try to make lists and whatever. And one of them I was thinking about exactly that point. I almost called it, and I wrote about it. I wrote a paragraph calling it "Rely on Old Tricks." You can trust yourself to do stuff.
That's such a cool way of saying it. I like that. Rely on old tricks.
But I didn't add it in the end because I thought that is what we do. Now, it might have been worth, because of your comments, then I was wondering, okay, well, maybe actually it would have been worth saying more than I hesitated on which 5 to use.
Sure. Yeah.
But maybe rely on old tricks would have sounded better than like the double check thing, perhaps. Maybe.
No. Rely on old tricks could be, double check is amazing because honestly, huge difference that makes. But rely on old tricks could be another post.
Yeah, it could be.
I think it would be another post in terms of.
But I think I'll go just like the 2 other posts more focused around sharing stuff in the world of advertising and marketing strategy.
Yeah.
And the other thing that made a massive difference this week and motivation for writing stuff is watching, and so attending the award ceremony on Monday, And then I also watched a talk from one of the super quite famous.
Oh, is that the one you
very
sent
strong?
me?
Yes,
I need to watch
by
it.
Mark Ritson, who's a teacher, marketing consultant, super interesting, and his talks are a lot of fun. That one's a lot of fun and very, very good.
Okay.
Quite irreverent, but I so agree with him. It's a 30-minute, 40 minutes with the questions and answers, but really the talk is 30 minutes, and it starts with let's get all the bullshit that the marketers are doing that makes no sense out of the way, and be proud of doing marketing again. And he has a controversial belief that, and he's preaching for what he sells, because he teaches a mini MBA course with Marketing Week magazine. And but yeah, he kept banging on about the idea and notion that learning about marketing makes you a better marketer. That formal training, one way or another, whether you go do a workshop, whether you get taught, whether you do classes, whether you read books, makes you a better marketer. And he says that because there are people being proudly saying they are doing marketing and call themselves a kind of marketing guru without having any kind of training, and proudly saying they have no training. And people like Gary Vee saying that training is completely useless, which is not true. I tend to believe that. I tend to believe also that training and formal training and learning stuff makes you better at the craft. And altogether there's a craft. So his first point was for the whole industry to stop being absolutely so fascinated with technology, and the latest in date right now is Web3, crypto, and the metaverse. He's it's all fascinating, but I'm sorry, guys, it doesn't do marketing. So the whole question of how much of your marketing budget should you be moving there is zero. So I'm telling you right now, you should not be doing that. Let the people. So if you're investing and you're working and operating in that industry, great, good for you. But that's not the same.
But it's just, I think it's it's
he
like
uses
going back
examples like a few years ago where everybody is like, "Oh my God, have you put any of your marketing budget towards Pokemon Go?" And he's like, "Guys, you're insane. It's a video game for kids. What are you doing? You're not going to sell more of your stuff through that." Of course, he's being outrageous on purpose.
I know.
But then when he gets to the points of what is important in marketing, I'm like, it's also just the basics. And most people do not. The businesses, brands, and agencies, and people who don't have formal training do not go through the basics. And his was 3 circles, one, and the third one split in 4. And we also, that was his big beef, was also our focus on communications. So focus on the latest platform, whether it be a media platform, whether it be Pokemon Go or TikTok. Saying, "Oh my God, we need to change everything for TikTok." He's like, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't do TikTok. I'm saying that marketing and developing your business is first, you do research, understand what is going on with your business, your market, your competitors. Then you develop a strategy. That's where, this is what I do every time. My clients like, "What should I do?" Okay, we're going to do some research. We're going to develop a strategy. And then in the third time, you go to whatever version of the 4 Ps. And one of those quadrants is about communication. And one is about the product, the pricing, and pricing is not discussed enough in marketing. Product pricing, basically just a place, which is communications, and another way to say it. And
promotion.
But then place and promotion. Oh, distribution. So because place is also distribution.
Place and distribution,
there's so many versions of these things. But the first 4 Ps is fine. Promotion is communications, and place is distribution. So, and distribution promotion is something that I rarely get to talk about. Mostly talk about communications, but I do enjoy working with smaller businesses because we talk about other stuff as well. And while I might not be, it depends on most clients, but most clients might not work end to end with me on stuff other than communication. I still bring it to the table and we talk about it. What's going on with your clients? How much is it costing? What kind of negotiation terms? And the last few clients I've worked with, they ended up then taking those topics to figure them out with other people than me. But we did talk about it. I talked about it with the board of directors. I'd like to do more of that. Anyhow, and not just if you anyway. So yeah, and everybody in the gurus and everybody online is super focused on improving your Instagram algorithm, which does have its own merits, But if you don't know what you're doing with your business, the market you're operating in altogether,
Yep.
and the main levers of marketing, the 4 P's
Yep.
we just mentioned, or C's
Yep.
or P's, or whatever you call them, then you're not doing the job.
Yep. I couldn't agree more. And doing the basics well, knowing there's 2 things I want to add to
and
this.
You need a marketing mix. It's not just like, let's throw all our money
it needs to be balanced
TikTok.
across the board. And we were talking
and of
about
course
this,
you should use TikTok these days. Well, it depends what you're doing,
yeah.
really.
And we were talking about this last week. We were talking about that cargo brand Cortez.
The
kind of way they do things it has to fit together in an integrated way that matches what everything's about. So there's 2 things I want to add. The first thing is doing the basics really well can only happen if you have an understanding of some framework or theoretical understanding of how you're going to use it. Theory is only useful if you're, in my opinion, if it's going to help you do something useful. Because the problem that I have with the students.
Did you see their Apple's latest ad?
No, I haven't seen it yet. Because the problem,
you should see it. It's like it's a heartbreaker. They have 2 with their anyway.
Because the problem that the students have is they know the theory, and then they can't relate it to what's going on in reality.
My students mostly don't know the theory, which is a bit scary.
But what's really important, certainly for the A-level business, is being able to put things in context. And the same with the GCSE, the younger ones, the 15, 16, as opposed to 17, 18-year-olds. Can they put it in context?
They taught that in school in France at all. They're taught history and geography, but not
a lot of the A-levels. A lot of the A-levels, not GCSEs in the UK, are based in Bloom's taxonomy. Knowledge is at the bottom, and then at the highest is creativity and judgment and that kind of stuff. That way of thinking is very kind of prevalent everywhere. But I'm also going to make a link with what you're saying to what's going on in some of the pedagogical discussions on Twitter. Is children should discover things themselves because they have access to all the information. And I think we talked about this before.
We might have.
So they don't need to be taught anything because they have access to everything and they can go on their own journey. It might even relate to what we were talking earlier about kids. The problem is if they don't have any knowledge or grounding or ideas or some kind of formality to what they're doing, they don't know what to do and what to go for. It's like
then they just open a feed and they scroll through the feed.
Yes, they go to Google and they type in
and you would never go to Wikipedia.
Essay title, and they don't build anything. They do not build anything. They don't create
and also which we talked about before, but the whole context is, you have a thing and you need to succeed at the grade. So whatever you need to do to pass the grade. And not the journey of learning. And I think if you just had a phone, you wouldn't, I don't know, would you? But you need to have a framework and an interest to go by yourself, learn about things.
So the extreme example that I give is if you didn't learn how to read, you wouldn't be able to do anything. You wouldn't be able to access things. That's the extreme example, but that's no,
it's not extreme. I think it's because it's that you need to be given keys to be able to go and use this stuff, or else the companies building the apps, the phone, and everything else use you as a product. I mean, the way that we're going, I'm going to give an exaggerated image or analogy, but as we're possibly going towards what we haven't talked about Professor Harari in a little while, but he's not the only one mentioning the notion that we're increasingly going towards a majority of people being a class of people that are not used in society, the useless class. They're just like going to be out of jobs, possibly maybe have a universal basic income. And if we go in that direction, because they're not used, we have robots to produce all the stuff, so people are literally not needed. And then their main worth, which is the case right now for a lot of people, is to be scrolling through apps so that your eyeballs to advertise to, in the way that there's pods of people in the matrix that we're just sucking up their energy. I'm completely exaggerating. I don't know if there's probably a better way to say this particular image, but really, if you're just scrolling through your app, your job is to be mindlessly scrolling so that there's an extra pair of eyeballs to advertise to that increases the business value of Facebook, Meta, TikTok, whatever. That's the reason why there's the content and the algorithm and everything else. the creativity is encouraged, and content creators are encouraged on TikTok only insofar as it's beneficial to the application, so that they have the eyeballs to encourage advertisers to pay them, essentially. So that's, you have that kind of circle.
A lot of
the circle is, we need your attention. And so all that to say that, of course, once everything's designed on the phone so that you don't have to think about anything, you just open it, press a button, scroll. But thinking, learning, and what we're talking about takes effort. And if you're not taught how to do that, or given any reason to, I think that you may well be satisfied for a long period of time and just scrolling through stuff. Maybe I'm wrong, and maybe I would hope also that a lot of people will get bored of that and start learning and exploring by themselves. But again, you need to be given the keys to be exploring stuff on your phone, because otherwise it doesn't make sense. Just like you don't know how to read.
Because in teaching,
kids don't know how to read this, as in understand how the internet functions, how apps function, the legibility of it.
A lot of
I don't know if it's just one thing, but
certainly in teaching here, there's the debate that's talked about is giving direct instruction versus let them discover what they need. And the one camp is saying you need direct instruction so that you can actually get the keys, like you're saying, to be able to access other things and then discover other stuff. It's an
interesting theoretical discussion, but in reality, you need both, don't you?
I totally agree.
Just like the marketing stuff I was talking about, people are going to argue, and at the end of his talk, he goes on. He talks about several extremes of different things.
Yeah.
And he's like, you can't do both extremes. You need to do a bit of everything.
Yeah.
So it's not about like, okay, is it all about brand building or is it all about sales promotion?
Yeah.
You need to do all of it. You need to mix.
Yeah.
And there's theoreticians, academics that research like what is the right balance. In truth, it's going to be different for every brand, every business.
And every objective.
But just like this, it's like you need to, if you're not given formal instructions, because like nobody knows what to do.
Yes.
And if you don't show them what ideal or good looks like, they would not know.
Yes.
And if you don't give them some space to experiment and try and make it for themselves, then they can't practice. So you need all of it.
The task that I've gave
you. The difficult thing is probably to get everything together. Sorry, I'm talking over you.
That's okay, because I think we're both enthusiastic about what we're saying. The task that I gave, that I was sometimes I get very frustrated at school. I find out 2 days before or 3 days before, oh, can you just put this together for
I think most people in most jobs have this kind of experience.
Can you just put this thing together for 80 odd kids and set it up and run it? I'm like, okay. Now it happens to be I can handle that, but it does mean it has a knock-on effect on other things. However, I don't want it to be rubbish. I want it to be good. Yeah. So the task was, what you have to do is set the kids up on, they have to come up with an idea for a dessert and the packaging, and they have to go and make it at home, and it's going to get judged next week. They have to make it, bring it in, and have the packaging and they have to design a website and all this kind of stuff. That was what I was told.
And it's high school.
Yeah, they're 17, 18, right?
Yeah, but still, I don't think anybody in high school does that. Maybe private schools. I don't know. Maybe
not. But I was like, okay, cool, I'll do it. So, but I wanted it to be good. So I had the PowerPoint and I had a brief. I even explained. So one of my colleagues and friends, he's a DT teacher, design technology. I was telling him, like, I defined what a brief was. And we were talking about what a brief is, because the kids don't know what a brief is. And you get given this and you have to work from it.
I'm explaining this to fifth-year students in advertising who...
So interesting.
In one way they have, and another way I don't know how they were taught by other people, because most of them don't know how to do a brief.
So I'm giving them a brief, because I know if you don't...
And these guys are 23.
These guys are 17, 18. So if I don't give them instructions, they're not gonna know. So I came up with what I was explaining to them. But the context for me doing all this, which is really important, is the thing we're talking about before about how do you talk about the things that you've done? Well, you need to do stuff. So, and I was talking about the skills that are valued in the workplace, and I could feel the room. It was like, okay, why are we doing this? What's the point of this? Because I was creating the bigger picture context. The reason we're going to have this task where you're working in a group and you have to create this packaging and website and cook something and come in and gets judged, is because we're trying to give you examples that you can talk about of where you've had to work with people. I have to work with people who I wouldn't socialize with. I really wouldn't. But professionally, I understand they bring something to the table, even if I disagree with them. So I'm explaining all this to them, and eventually they're going, okay. Then I give them the whole thing, and they're all in teams, and they go off and do it. And it's very interesting how they think, because they get, the vast majority of them do understand, or were understanding, that they have to work together. They've all got different skills. Some of them are going to be good at, some of them are creative and great with packaging. Other people, they want to cook. Other people, they know that they could put together a website and they're quite techie. And it's a lot of going around and listening to them and watching them get on with it. I was quite surprised at how good they were. Genuinely, like, wow, there's some really good stuff. Now, of course,
I think if you left, I agree. I wouldn't be. Sorry, go ahead.
They're being very facetious with the names and being like double entendre and kind of like, double meanings with cream, and like you can just dessert. They're going to be just teenagery about it, but some really great ideas. Really great ideas. You got the artists,
but you kind of give them
the
ground and the context and the foundation for that to happen. If you don't give them anything, they're just
now the next thing is next year when it comes to writing university applications or sitting in a job interview or whatever, they actually have things they can call on that they've done that they discovered. Like, oh yeah, we worked as a team, we did this task and we had to produce this, and I did loads of it and other people didn't. What I learned is that I got to ask for help. Great example. But they can talk about, they actually have something to say. They have a story they can tell, instead of thinking about, oh, how do I make it look good on LinkedIn? Okay, well, that's the wrong question. A bit like what you're saying about the marketing guy. Do the basics really, or have something to say. Invest in yourself and have something interesting to talk about, like comic books or role-playing games or whatever the hell. And then no surprise, and you can have interesting conversations. If you're just scrolling or listening to, have you heard of this guy, Andrew Tate? Have you heard of him?
Not sure. Who is he?
Okay. So
I don't think so, but tell me. You might have mentioned him before.
He's a kind of an influencer who's come out of nowhere, and the kids have he
in the UK.
About, in the UK.
What's
but
his
I think
thing? Is he on YouTube, Twitch?
I think TikTok is
Does
his
he
thing.
just talk about life in his life?
He talks about escaping the matrix and earning loads of money, and women are this.
Is he young?
And he's like
ish.
He's youngish. He's late.
So it sounds like what Coach Guru talk like.
Oh yeah, exactly. That is exactly But he does it by being really controversial. So one of his phrases is like, "What color is your Bugatti?"
Your what? Like, Bugatti. Car.
The car.
Okay, got it. Sorry.
As he's saying, like, if you're cool and you're rich, then you'll buy this expensive car, and then he's like that kind of demeaning, hyper masculine kind of ridiculous
horrible
guy. I don't know.
He's super popular with everybody, the kids, or
he's super popular with the boys and the kids. Now, The Guardian did a write-up about him, and there was a point where online searches for him were higher than Kim Kardashian. Like, which was like, really? Because
what did he do?
So what he did was he invented some kind of.
I mean, for that to happen, as in there's more searches, it's probably a point in time something happened that he got a lot of vision. He was on TV or something like that.
He was on TV. He was interviewed by Piers Morgan.
There's a spike. That's why.
He was on.
It sounds like. I don't know for sure, but
well, he also did other things. Like he set up this course that people bought, and then he asked everyone who bought the course to just like post his stuff everywhere. So then suddenly, for a certain group of people, he was everywhere. Mostly young boys on YouTube, teenage boys, and it was
taking the void, filling the void left by what's his face? 12 Rules for Life. Yes, who's not completely disappeared, but did disappear for a little while.
It does feel like it. It does.
And I'm not on the radar, and he's less talked about altogether. Which, anyhow,
But this guy, Andrew Tate, is really on the radar of teenage boys. And I don't know
He sounds horrible.
enough of his stuff. Yeah. Some of his
so
stuff
why are you bringing him up
seems,
again?
because some of his stuff seems, well, I'm bringing him up because I think he's very media savvy. I think he's just doing it to pure popularity marketing.
Yeah, like a lot of them do
fakeness.
that.
Yeah, influencer.
I say a lot of
stuff.
them. I mean, influencers, people who are popular on social media.
There's
got to be something to the content, otherwise it doesn't fly or it doesn't last. That's the other thing.
Yeah, I don't think.
That said, it's not necessarily true, because then once you start having you snowball. If you have a big enough audience and you make some money, then you can put some of your money towards your marketing and advertising and make sure that you're discovered if you're smart about it.
I think he's smarter than people might give him credit for. He says outrageous things about women and all stupid stuff, and he's captured something. Now, how he uses it, I don't know. Some of the kids know about Gary Vee as well, the older ones.
I find him super annoying. I can't stand him.
I find him a bit annoying too. Some of what he says is actually quite good, but
a lot of what he says is smart, but he's just so condescending, and he plays around with it. As in, he'll beat you even more stronger on the head to talk about his, how willing and ready he is to do.
You just look so uncomfortable as you talk about it.
I remember listening to a few years ago to a long form interview of him.
Yeah.
Explaining how, he doesn't, of course, like being super brash and insulting everybody that he makes uncomfortable, and that he does it on purpose, and that they're not strong enough and he's stronger. And like, I'm exaggerating because I can't remember what he was talking about in the end. But anyway, I found it, and I forced myself, because I was like, all right, he's super popular, I should listen to what he has to say. Generally speaking, it's just, so that's the other thing, is that there's the fundamentals, there's no particular secret. Well, so what I mean by that is you need to be out there, and there's like, those people don't get a lot of sleep and work really hard on everything they're doing.
Yep.
Still think, but I also would say that, because that is my job, to say there's value in stopping to think about what you're doing and having a strategy for it, or to stop but think about what the kind of content you're putting out there. But presumably those guys, women, influencers of any kind, not any kind, but the ones posting long-ish form content. If you're editing videos, posting videos, and doing it frequently,
it takes
whatever topic you're doing, it takes a lot of time, and a lot of them work with other people for that. There's also for, I don't know what the numbers are, but for many of them, it comes from a class thing. To be able to hire somebody, an editor at the other side of the planet, that is not costing you that much, presumably, because that's probably the case in how you start with virtual assistants, etc. You're likely, if you're young, or even if you're not young, to have a pocket of money somewhere to be able to do this all the time. So your money comes from heritage, your family. So there's a class thing going on too, because otherwise you would not be able to spend 12 hours or 15 hours a day producing videos if you had to pay for rent and feed yourself. So I don't know this, but I suspect strongly that the people who are successful influencers, particularly on YouTube and producing videos, now I'm sure there's starving artists as well, of course, but also there's a bunch of them that must have, somebody's paying for the rent, somebody's doing all this stuff to alleviate the amount of worry they have to do their day-to-day to get them started. Just like a lot of young startuppers and entrepreneurs are built on the success of like their parents, and had their parents at least to pay for their school, and or that they could drop out of school and still have an apartment, Anyhow, there's a class thing in there too, I'm sure.
Now the other thing is that you can do stuff. I mean, like, we're doing this live thing, it elevates our conversation.
We're lazy bastards. I mean, we just decided to do this because we didn't want to go through the actual elbow grease work of posting, sharing, making sure we have a concept, doing it over.
We tried it. We did it.
No, we did a thing, and then we were like, okay, do we really want to invest our time in this?
Yeah,
Not really.
Exactly. But I think that the conversation is so useful for me, for sure.
Oh no, that was great, and which we've talked about your students and some of the questions from Teaching Tangents as well about the probably everybody who says they want to be an influencer first, well, go write something, post something, do a video, put it out there. Start now.
Yeah.
And likelihood of them underestimating the amount of work it takes.
Huge.
It takes a lot of work. And you have a lot of the same kind of mental and emotional stress as somebody like in acting gets, for example.
Oh, wow. Yeah, of course.
Because you are tied to the popularity. You desperately need to be popular. So, I mean, actors, I say actors because I know that you have to go through a lot of really rough mental and emotional stuff when you're doing auditions and being said no and no and no and no. And even ones who get a break and do several seasons of a TV show, next time around, it might be again the case that they could take a while to get another job, and that's a grind. It's really rough when you're in between work. So I'm wondering if, I don't know for sure, some of it is a little bit similar insofar as you're working to people's popularity, and you need to have a lot of mental and emotional fortitude, or develop it somehow, or not have it but then do drama, which also is another thing that works on YouTube. Because you're reading mean comments, you're reading difficult stuff, you need to be popular. And then there's a whole other ball game of playing with the algorithm, because and I believe the house always wins. And I think that adage works from casinos, but it also works in YouTube, Google, whatever you're doing, is everything is happening in the favor of the platform that is broadcasting your content. So let's say YouTube, but we said we were talking about TikTok earlier, same principle. They win. They're going to do stuff to win, and the algorithm is going to be changed for the house to win, not your content. And you are only a sub-product of the overall platform. So the most successful ones in terms of influencers or being known or having a name out there, of course, try to go multimedia channels to be known over and above, and then end up selling merchandising and all that jazz to make sure that they are not tied into only one platform.
But the best ones will have thought about what they want to say and how they say it, and it will be something that fits together.
Yeah. No, and also you're competing for people's times, and we only have so much of it.
Yeah.
And there's millions of people trying to do the same.
Yeah.
The number of videos that have 0 views, like ours,
what is it, 0?
It's massive.
How many?
Maybe one.
Like
literally 2. One, because I left my window open while we're. So no, right now we have concurrent views are at 0 and likes at 0 for the current video. No, there was just 2 views. Then I think might be us.
I haven't got it open. My computer will fall over if I try and have it open at the same time.
Anyhow,
but now it's funny you say this, like, because I challenged one of my classes. This is the kind of stuff I do. Anyway, it doesn't matter if I say it. I was like, so we're talking about, in psychology, we're talking about the big debates in psychology, which is one of the syllabus topics, like nature versus nurture, free will, determinism. And I said, fine, let's have a discussion about it, record it, and put it into a podcast. They're like, I don't know how that came up. It just came up. And so I came in with a mic and I set it up and we recorded it. And now we've recorded 5 or 6 episodes, and 3 of them are on Spotify.
By the way, what happened to your show that you did 1 season? Did you do another
I did one season. I've done 1 season. I've got 8 episodes, 8 ideas for episodes for a 2nd season. I haven't done it yet, and I'm not sure I'm going to.
Did you get views, listens? Do you?
It still keeps, like.
I haven't looked at my podcast listens in ages. I've not done anything.
People still listen to it.
I need to think about what I'm going to do with my content, and I'm posting directly on LinkedIn right now. I haven't even done anything else. I should post the stuff I posted on LinkedIn on my website as well.
So one of my episodes has 134 plays. So I've got 8 episodes, 477 plays all time, 8 plays per episode on average. Audience size in the last 7 days, 2.
Yeah, so you're like not going to be a billionaire with that podcast just yet.
Yeah. Do I want to be a billionaire? Oh, mostly 35 to 44 is the age.
Doesn't matter whether you want it or not. It's not happening anytime soon with that one.
No, it's not. It's not.
When did you finish publishing the season again?
15th of May, 2021.
Oh, that's a while ago.
And
it goes way too fast.
It does.
And when I was publishing that podcast, it really took me a lot of time and energy. And I didn't, I was running a little bit more than that, but not crazy amounts more.
And my one was short ones. They're relatively short, just me talking. So
but you still wrote them, right?
What do you mean?
How did you prepare for an episode? Did you write everything, or did you write bullet points of what you wanted to talk about? Or
I had a topic, a couple of bullet points, and then I just recorded it.
Okay.
So and we're talking to one of my mutual friends. The amount of effort he puts into preparing and planning a video and whatever, I'm like, okay, I realize I'm actually quite good at coming up with something and then talking about it. I wasn't trying to be super profound or whatever. I had an idea and I talk about it. So, but minimal preparation.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I'll do another season. I might not. Oh, this will make you laugh. I just thought of something. Mm-hmm. This will make you laugh so much. So I'm a huge fan of Mind Journal, right? Huge fan. Use it.
I haven't touched my Mind Journal in a year, I think.
I love it.
Not a year, but
so
anyway, I haven't touched it.
A few people have bought one, which I'm quite proud of. I was talking to a friend about it, and we were talking on Zoom, and I went to their website, and I'm like, here's the website, and I'm sharing the website with him. In fact, I hope my computer doesn't fall over. For maximum effect, I'm going to do it with you. mindjournals.com. And
you're sharing your screen, or do you?
I'm going to share my screen in a second, because I'm sharing the screen with him. Why is my computer not doing what it's supposed to do? So
your computer's struggling. You need a new one, or
at some point I'm gonna have to get.
I would really like a new one, but I need to make a bunch more money to buy a new computer.
So here's a website. So I'm sharing with my friend. I'm like, here's a website. Can you see it? Mind Journal. So scroll down. Like, okay, cool. Scroll down. Trusted by guys worldwide. Holy shizzle! It's me. What the hell? How come I'm on their website? What is going on? So it turns out that ages ago, they sent an email. It's like, do you want to record a video and like talk about Mind Journal? I was like, okay, fine.
Oh, plus there's a video. There's actually
yeah. There's a video. So I recorded the video, sent it to them, and I had no idea they used it. It's on the website. See, like, super funny. I know. So you click it, and then it comes up with this like whole video of me talking, where I'm sitting right now about the Mind Journal and blah blah blah. I was like, wow, okay. Had no idea I was on the website.
That's funny.
So, yeah, it's so funny, so funny.
When are you finishing your format of journal for teachers as well? That's another idea that was floated by a while back.
Oh, I've got it. Do you want me to show you it? I've got it right here.
Oh, you have it already?
Well, I haven't made it, but I've got the one I use. Do you want to see it?
Sure, I'm not sure what you mean. How many different journals do you have? Fascinating.
Okay, so this is the teacher's planner.
Okay.
This is like teachers everywhere use this, but this one is a Lever Arch file. What I do is I came up with a custom page, based on the gratitude 5-minute journal thing. And then I pick my 6 things. It has a timeline on the side, and then at the end.
How could I have made today even better? What's the first one?
3 amazing things that happened today. And then, so at the top it has.
Do you feel it at the end of your workday?
Yeah, I do that every day. And I find it helps get things out of my head. I know what I'm doing hour by hour. I found it really works. And put it together in that way. I'd probably tweak it a little bit more, So it's a bit more teachery. But I think it has legs.
Looks like it.
So much so, I think I told you this. My deputy head, I showed it to my deputy head. She's like, "Yeah, just make it, put it on Etsy, and I'll buy it."
That's what I was referring to. I thought you were going to make one.
Maybe.
But I thought it was a whole book like the Mind Journal that you wanted to do.
I just might create a journal like that and make it just like, I don't know, maybe, and then get you to brand it. I don't know what.
You're not doing anything from a side business perspective anymore, are you? Coaching of some kind? Because you used to have a side business or ideas of side business and doing stuff, but I don't think you're doing that anymore, are you?
I stopped it all, but I've been posting the stuff about
I'm
teaching.
still amazed that you keep posting, even though there's no reason for you to do that. You don't need to. It's just purely sharing stuff.
It is.
Well, partly because I really just slowed down and or stopped, as I mentioned at the beginning, social media the last 2-3 years. I used to do a lot of it, and now I've just really lost interest in it.
I like posting about teaching. And what made the difference for me is having a specific number. So like I said, I'm going to do 8 episodes of the podcast. I did 8, move on to the next thing. My current thing is 20 posts about teaching. And I've done like...
Where? Anywhere? On
LinkedIn. Okay. Well, I set it on a website, and then I post, it automatically puts it on LinkedIn and Twitter. So I have I think I'm up to 13 or 14, but people really like it. Teachers are liking it. My principal commented on public on it. My prep school, head of the prep schools, really, really likes the posts. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm just going to keep going. I do have a call to action on it as well, sign up for my email list or leave a comment, all that kind of stuff. No email lists, people.
Nobody's clicking through, is that what you're saying?
No, nobody's clicking through. Nobody's clicking to get the lead magnet or whatever. But there is engagement.
So if you're doing that for the result, then it wouldn't be working.
It's not working.
But it is probably working from a awareness, top of line, top of funnel, brand building of you, I guess.
It is. And I'm actually talking to an organization called Pixel, Partners in Excellence, do a lot of stuff with schools about being a speaker at one of their conferences. So, which I'd really like to do, and go and talk about like being a teacher and writing proposals, getting up off your arse and doing something as a teacher instead of bitching about senior management and how they do nothing. Why don't you actually come up with a solution, people? So, and that's...
You're not paid for that.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
but then,
I'm shortening it, but because you're not paid for it, because you're already tired, because you already have a lot of work beyond your hours, because I want to do something else with my life. I'd like to go play games and or go fishing and or spend time with my wife, partner, husband, whatever.
That's true, but plenty of teachers a lot of teachers yeah, I get your point.
Maybe I'm cutting them some slack, but that's not your point.
But there are teachers who will definitely be like, why? They're middle leadership and they're moaning. Or they want to be middle leaders, or they want to be deputy heads, or they want to, and it's like, okay, well, if you're serious about it, fucking do something. So it annoys me intensely. So, and that's the general tone of my posts. They're a bit like, you lot are rubbish. Can you actually take responsibility and take ownership and do something? So, and
the taskmasters must love it.
Yeah, maybe. But my next post, I'm considering
the man loves it.
Getting even more ranty, just to see what kind of response it gets. So
I'm curious about that too, but I don't know.
And I know
that being outrageous up in your mouth gets a lot of views or controversial views. Anyway, I don't know. I'm restarting just to write and publish all together.
Yeah.
And to try to do that a bit in French and to get known by people in France.
Yep.
So I, for example, went to this awards ceremony. I could have started shitting on who was winning, and I thought maybe I'm not going to do that because I don't know anybody. But I wrote about some marketing principles that I don't think are known by people in France, amazingly. And that there was a presentation at the beginning of the awards ceremony that was an opening to do that. And I ended up, as usual, for all of those posts this week, I thought I was going to spend a couple of hours, and then it took me all day Friday. And it was the end of the day Friday, and I really hesitated. I was like, should I post this now? knowing that everybody's like leaving, it's not the right time to post on LinkedIn Friday at the end of the day.
Mm.
And I was like, I've worked on it all day. I want to have an achievement for the week. And I thought I wanted to post 3 times. And I split the thing in 2 because, or more than 2. And I said, next time I'm going to talk about something else. So I know what I'm doing next.
Yeah.
So I'm just publishing it. And I tagged so many people on it that I'd never met, that were the organizations and companies that were speaking and invited me at the award ceremony. So I managed to get myself invited to the award ceremony. I just found out it was happening, and I don't even know why or how, but there was an online form that said, would you like to attend? I was like, really? I could just attend? And I just filled it up, and I got a, yes, you're welcome to come. And it was good. It was also, so it's really the first time that I was with like really the in crowd of advertising and media of Paris and France. Like all the directors of big agencies.
That's a good place to be, right?
It's a great place to be. And so the award ceremony was super interesting. It was the Effies, and the Effies is an international award that is important and very known by my body of professional body, because it's one of the only, not the only, but one of the only, and certainly I think the only international awards for advertising that take into account the creativity, the strategy, and the results. So to win an Effie, you need to prove in your case study that you had an objective, you were creative, and you fulfilled on your objective. However you do that, it's usually that's the creativity of writing the award thing. So it shows like a really good result. But anyhow, that doesn't, others don't even have to do that. The Cannes Lions, you just show the video and people are like, "Ooh, beautiful, emotional, great, we win." I'm exaggerating by a lot, but
no, but both of us are both interested in the bottom line. Like, what did it actually happen?
One talk, and so I knew this, by the way, intellectually, but I'm completely clueless about the advertising and media French landscape. I'm not really in it, and I'm not really, and I don't belong to the community. And Paris is a tough nut to crack because they're very like, it's their own little world.
You said that last week, didn't you?
I said that last week, and so. All that to say, at the end of the award ceremony, there was a cocktail, champagne, canapes, etc. And I quickly looked around and I was like, this is not the right place for networking and randomly coming up to people, because you had all the teams of agencies, all the people that know one another, the agency teams hanging out together, hanging out with their clients. And I don't know anybody. And within this kind of context, if I rock up to people to talk random, like, one, I have no reason for being there. I didn't work on any of this. I didn't work on any awards. I didn't win or lose. I'm just like hanging around. It's not a good look. And everybody's busy with their colleagues, with their clients, they're part of the system. I'm not part of it. So like, I felt like a mole. I was an intruder a little bit. Not in a bad way, but just, so quick. I had a glass of champagne, looked around, hesitated. I was like, okay, is this a little bit of cowardice on my part? Maybe, but I think it's not a good look, particularly in Paris. If you need to be introduced, otherwise it's weird, particularly for this kind of setting that is not made. Everybody knows one another. I don't know them, they don't know me, so I need to be introduced. Otherwise, I'm starting on unbalanced football, or like it's not my best possible. And I'm an odd one, so I don't fit any standards of anything. And I know that if I talk to someone who's a big agency, they might be as impressed about my background and my experience that I might be about the fact that they're the director of this big agency.
I see. Yeah.
But if I show up and talk to them and say hi in this setting with no reason particularly, and they're busy, then I'm not going to show. I'm just like weird, not interested.
Yeah.
So instead, what I did is I took photos of every single thing that was going on. One, to find out more about all the different case studies, because there's many of them that I didn't know at all. So there I had the names of the people, the agencies that worked on, who won the awards, and I spent a good while on Tuesday looking at all the campaigns, looking at who was winning, looking at all the names. And I wrote a post that was then I contacted people on LinkedIn with a little blurb to connect, to say thank you for the evening. It was great. I attended, like to connect. I'm connecting with people in Paris. And I know that a lot of them are too busy to be on LinkedIn, but it seemed to be a better, softer approach. And then once I connected, I tagged them in a post to thank them.
Of course.
And then the second post, the post I wrote on
and this
Friday
is all
was
in
a long
French,
article.
right?
No, so it's a mix. I actually, so the following, so Tuesday I posted in English a normal post, a bit long, but normal post to say thank you, and that was in English, and tagged a bunch of people. And the Association of Advertising Agencies, so the French kind of professional association that was one of the sponsors and people who put up the event, reposted my post saying, I'm not the one saying it was a great evening. Look at this person saying so. So that was cool. A few people replied to me from my LinkedIn contacts, just saying thank you. Just there's not really anything else to do at this particular point. It was just like a short blurb saying thank you for the evening, making contacts in Paris. Call me, if you need a strategies perspective. And the presentation at the beginning of the awards ceremony was about the value of creativity in business. And they had results. They were referring to an old study in the UK. And I have a bunch of other studies that prove the value of creativity in business for advertising. That if you are creative with your advertising communications, you produce a lot more result than if you're not. I'm pretty sure that it's very little known in France, because even I heard people around me in the audience like being surprised by the number that was given. I was like, oh yeah, I think people don't know about this. Interestingly, so there's a lot of research coming out of the UK mostly, and the UK has a very strong, the IPA, the Institute of Practitioners of Advertising in the UK, is very strong with their effectiveness awards, with their award studies. There's academics as well as extremely smart people heading several agencies who study all this stuff and publish really good papers, whereas it seems like in France it's not really a thing. And funny enough,
sounds like you found something.
So exactly. So the award ceremony was motivating. It was great to be there. It felt I had content to talk about. And that other talk I talked about earlier, also motivating to write and bounce off of other ideas. And I thought, okay, I need to share this stuff that is not mine, but is good to be shared, because everybody who does my job, who shares these types of research about creativity, effectiveness, emotion, and advertising, wants it to be more known, because even in English, there's a lot of people that don't know that, and certainly a lot of marketing professionals that have no idea about this research. So yeah,
especially in Paris, in France, in French.
Yeah, so I wrote about it in French. So my first post was in English.
Yeah,
and I also wanted to do a second one in French, and the second one was then an actual whole article. And I also posted that carousel.
So what's next?
So the whole article is about I rewrote I wasn't sure where I was going with this yesterday, and not yesterday, Friday, and I went through out of my way to find the right reference to the research that they were referring to in their slide, to make sure that I had exactly the right one. And it's so funny because you have so many different, of course, you have so many different posts or reports that are referring to a previous piece of data with often like mistaken, not really sourced. And it's just like, look at this. And I was like, wait a minute, where does that graph actually come from? And I thought I knew, and then I realized that actually it was coming from somewhere else, and it was something else, and it was mislabeled.
Oh.
So still the heart of the point of the slide that the presenter was making on Monday was two things: one showing proof, evidence-based research of what matters the most to your ROI and communications, and that basically the first one, and it was translated, and this were not mislabeled but abbreviated, I don't know, and that was a UK study. And it was saying that your brand is the most important. The second most important is creativity, and then there were a few other things. And then it was side by side with things saying that they had researched what French marketers thought was most important.
Okay.
And they said the most important is having a multimedia approach. And then there was your media budget and allocation. So I think there was like one slide which was geography allocation, media spend, and then creativity was number 4 and brand was number 5.
Wow.
So the point was saying that marketers, and you could ask marketers in the UK, they would probably not put things in the right order. And then they went and talked about 4 pillars of effectiveness in advertising, and they had 4 different things. And at first, I thought I was going to reuse their pillars to illustrate and talk about some of the winners and why I believe that they fit within this particular pillar. And then when I realized that the research was coming from somewhere else, I thought actually I should really quote the research that I know. That is really, that have charts that are like just usually loved by marketing professionals, because, and particularly that are loved by directors, because you're showing them that basically if you add creativity, the long and short of it, actually funny enough, the study is called The Long and the Short of It. One of the 3 studies that so there's one study about the link between creativity and effectiveness in advertising communications. And they studied, and they Peter Field. So this is all, by the way, the credit goes to Peter Field and Les Binet. Binet, I don't know how to pronounce it. They're both English, one from Oxbridge, one from Oxford, the other one from Cambridge, of course. One, Peter Field, worked in strategy for agencies for a long time, now as a consultant. And the other one leads the econometrics department of DDB agency in London. And they co-authored, the Adam and Eve DDB, which is one of the big advertising agency networks in the world. So for the thing about creativity and effectiveness, they took all the research and case studies from all the creativity awards in advertising and all the effectiveness awards, bunched them up together and looked at all of them together. And analyzed all the created indexes, or I don't know how we say that, indices, like new ways, indices, the new ways to be able to compare the like for like in their language of what effectiveness means. And from around the world, from 1996 to 2010, if I remember correctly.
Wow.
And so they mashed all that stuff together to come up with an amazing chart saying, well, campaigns that have been creatively awarded are 12 times more successful than those that have not been.
I.e., creativity is really important.
Creativity makes a massive difference to your business. So funny enough, and so that was the point of the presentation from Monday was, I realized then referring to that one, and then I realized they were linking to the presentation online, and the presentation was actually a different one that was given in June for Cannes, and they had articles in the media about it. And with the presentation for Cannes, I was like, wait a minute, it's not the same presentation. It doesn't have the same information on it. And the pillars were not exactly the same. And then I thought, okay, wait a minute. Well, I think what matters here is already long enough for me to talk about the references that I have from Les Binet and Field. And and ultimately actually not talk about their pillars, because their pillars, they have no source for that. So it's their view of the world, which is fine. It's complete. I agree with it, but I thought it doesn't serve me to use their thing that is not particularly sourced by anything. I can reuse their reference, and because I know the research, so I said, okay, this is where the research comes from in the first place. And it seems like the other place of research that was made a little bit later by different people, the people I just quoted, is little known in France, but correct me if I'm wrong. So I wrote about all this creativity and emotion in advertising, and I referred back to their first pillar to finish, because I have 3-4 charts of stats, and I said, well, not to like bore you to death with statistics, all that to say that creativity and emotion is super important and produces more results. By the way, let me illustrate with one of the gold winners, and also because making a difference, and finishing with a note that was a little bit more of an OMG. So it's a national charity, La Fondation Abbé Pierre, who is right now in their run for raising all the money for homeless people in the winter. In short, and they won a gold award for that movie from last year, which I'll send to you because it's really good, and it's just music. You don't have to you understand everything. It's in short, their slogan from last year was, "There's a life after living on the street." And you see this woman who has all sorts of like little like annoying things of day-to-day life happen to her, and then she's like sighs and smiles. You know, she drops her phone, it's broken, she's like, oh, and then she smiles, she kind of looks up. It happens to a bunch of stuff. And then, of course, at the end, you realize that she was living on the street, so everything that's happening to her now is not a big deal, and she appreciates everything that's going on. And they have this 5-minute movie this year that is also like quite harrowing. It's a little bit on the heavy side. It's really good. So I said congratulations to them. And by the way, given I'm talking about effectiveness and advertising communications, I've just given money, and I've just made my donation. So should you. Here's the link. And I think next week I'll talk about this or that. I'll talk about other research, and I'll see how people react. I tagged a lot of people.
It just sounds like you found something that you want to talk about and you're motivated to. I'm looking forward to seeing what comes out. And if I can comment on anything, I will. I get really irritated.
I should also repost all this stuff in English, but it's so time consuming.
Yeah, you don't necessarily need to, but I'll
post more stuff in different. Yeah, I'm just going to keep doing my thing.
Yes,
which is, by that I mean, I'll post in English. They'll give me ideas for posting in French, and there's a sequence of events that if you follow both English and French, it'll make sense. Not that it won't if you only follow one language, but anyhow.
For me, like when you say about creativity, I do think of play as an access to creativity, of course, which is your thing.
Yeah, and then I have to reintegrate some of that, that's right now I didn't do that in that post. Anyway, all that to say that it really matters. It's silly, but it matters what you read and what you're fed. And going to that event on Monday was great to get me back into it and to want to get into this and to actually go, okay, I need to share and do things and like that. And the video was great as well.
When my colleagues post stuff, they post, like one of my colleagues has done loads of research about microplastics and traveled the world and really involved with it. She's head of geography at my school. She's super into sustainability, all of that stuff. She knows her stuff, like been published, all that kind of stuff. So she shared one of the things she was involved in, one of the pieces of research on LinkedIn. So I clicked through, I read the article, I read the abstract, started looking at it, and then left an intelligent comment. And of course that makes a huge difference when you leave an intelligent comment, because
I need to do more of that on LinkedIn.
And it really isn't. I don't find it that hard when I'm talking about teaching stuff to leave an intelligent comment. But a lot of other people will just click like. It does nothing. There's nothing. So where I can, I will read.
It does. It's what I do too. You just click the like because you move on. You're scrolling.
But because
what you're doing necessitates to stop and to think about what you're writing. And most of the time, I don't know what I'm going to write. And I feel like not smart when it took me almost all day to do that post on Friday, and I hate to admit it. And I'm sure like other people must do it in an hour. And
I don't know.
I don't know if it's true or not, but
I'll read the post and I'll leave an intelligent comment. Like that comment I left about the strength.
I think you can automatically translate it
on your. Oh, can you? Okay, I'll try it.
Can.
On the thing about trusting what you're good at, that didn't take me that long, but I did like your carousel. And like where I can, I'll leave an intelligent comment or ask a question. And that's the advice I give the kids. Don't just like random stuff on LinkedIn. Read it and then ask a question. Ask an intelligent question. Leave an intelligent comment, because you'll stimulate a conversation. You'll get yourself known. It's not that difficult, but it takes, just like you said,
it's not that difficult, but it does take some time and effort.
And it does take. So it takes some actual thinking.
It's not necessarily easy, and I have also in the past gone through like on detours, because as you know, it can go on tangents. It's totally happened to me to stop on a post, to think about a comment, start writing it, and then go, wait a minute, I'm not sure if this is true. I need to go and check my sources, or I remember something that this is useful, then spend an hour and I'm like, I should not have done that. So now I don't. I'm just like and move on, because I feel like I need to produce other things. You can't, otherwise you spend your whole day on it.
Yeah.
Now, in the context of me looking for new business and being out there, I should be doing more of it altogether. That's pipelining. It's kind of my top of funnel writing on LinkedIn, because it's getting known, generally speaking. It's also, I don't know, it's going to be funny for the people who notice in France, like probably going, who the hell is this guy? What's going on? I'm like, yeah, I was just submarining for a couple of years, and I'm here. Here we
But
are.
if you,
But that said, it's totally fair
you
to
can
say,
build
well, I
momentum
was
here.
just busy with clients. I didn't
Yeah.
have time to do this
Yeah.
before, and now I'm looking for work, so I have a bit of time to write, and I'm doing that.
You've got. I think it's keep going. I'm looking forward to seeing where this goes for sure. Very, very
So
interesting.
I had a call for some work, so it's looking like I'm going to have to write a proposal for a client. And it's with the person, the agency that gets me quite a lot of work lately, last 2 years. And they have a big in to work with possibly a lot of startups. They're trying to put some like fixed product together. And I was just thinking of putting some kind of systemized something together,
Like
whether
a
a formal workshop or a
thing,
course. Or a mix of both. And she was like, I'm game, like we need to do this because I'm happy to work with you on building a product that we can sell to all I have like 140 startups, and I'm about to work with one as a test. And if that works, then we can talk about building something that she can go and then sell to startups. And it's about trying to find the right balance of.
But you'd get money coming in from that, right?
Yeah. I would get a lot of money coming from, and with the interesting for me is to work with somebody else that is asking, because if I'm left to my own devices, then I just have my ideas and do nothing, you know.
Yeah.
The only reason I'm actually doing all this stuff is because I'm like, I have to pay rent. Otherwise, I'd be reading. I'm just not doing any of it.
I think it's a huge opportunity there to systematize your thinking.
And part of where I was thinking of like multiple revenue streams workshop, is to have a course.
How to access play states and enhance your creativity to your bottom line.
Well, yeah, maybe.
I don't know.
It's that funny. Would be cool. We had a so again, our friend in common conversation I was having with him. He is very system. He was like, have you done this and this and this? And I could hear the people he's watched and listened to and read, because I know I don't know the ones he's following, but I know the gist of them.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I'm not. That's not. It's just it's funny. We so different in the way we approach things.
Yeah.
But but he's actually managed to produce something, whereas I'm like just sitting around and reading, doing nothing, playing games.
You've got so much to offer, Willem. I want to see it happen.
Yeah, it's true that I do. If I get off my bottom and get working on stuff.
Well, okay.
I have to do that's part of
the reason
for the French market. So
that's why we have these creative sessions. So I'm gonna do a post about
these creative sessions help massively as well. Ultimately.
I'm gonna do a post.
And I think the word of the day on the creativity is still there's elbow grease involved, and that's not necessarily the creativity. It's not because I had to write and research and check my references and
the war of
reorganize what I was doing as a post 3 times. I was like, wait a minute, actually, this is not what my post is about. It's about this. Oh, it's about this.
Yeah.
And I was like, does this still work? I have to put this here.
Yeah. So I'm saying this week I'm going to write another post. I'm going to tone down the rantiness, I think, and make it a bit more accessible. So, yeah. And what are you doing this week?
I'll write a post as well, at least one. And I have the thing I did put to the side is, which is still an objective for the end of the year, is to finish the second draft of my short story.
Oh yeah,
to have the short story.
I didn't even write my one. I better do that.
We're at the beginning of the year, and it was my objective for the year, and I'm like, I thought I would do a lot more, and I haven't even finished the second draft. Where's the year?
Oh man, I can't do next week.
No, I can't do next week either. I'm going away. I'm super excited going away.
We should set. I'll send you some times because in about 3 weeks.
You know, I journal all the time, and I had really good, sincere intentions of reviewing my journals quarterly. Not happened, of course.
We need to do. Well, I'm off. School ends on the 13th of December, so we can have a
13th. Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Is that early?
It seems early.
Okay. Well,
until when are they on holidays?
I go back to school
in France. It breaks the following week on the 17, 18.
And then I have my teacher training day on January the 3rd. So I like our end of year, completing the year.
Ooh, I really like that too. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, so I'll send you some times and we'll do that. So, oh, I love these conversations.
I do. Me too.
I want to see what you produce. I'm very excited.
Thanks. And
No
it's
pressure.
about time I get.
No pressure.
It's about, and I will write my. It's about time I really do that. I've been thinking about it. I still haven't put any time towards it. It takes so much time. My model. So in the way that there's a branding model, there's different shapes, forms. There's a pyramid. There's a house. There's all sorts of stuff like that. I need to do mine. Which won't be any more revolutionary than any of the others. It's just my own shape as a brand consultant to say this is the way I sell it.
Yeah. Play.
Well, I don't know if it looks like play or if it looks like an ice cream.
Well,
so I have this idea that I haven't really developed.
You have to have the code at the bottom.
Parlor, and the ice cream parlor has flavors, and each one of the flavors are strengths. That your brand has a unique combination of strengths. Just like a sundae would have a unique combination of ice cream. The strengths, because the strengths themselves are things that a lot of different brands have, but you have not completely unique, but you're going to have a combination of different. So I'm trying to think of what I can use from the strength-based conversations applied to brand strategy models, while still having all of most of the stuff that you're going to work in within a commercial background. Have a target audience like
I can imagine
we're gonna have labels like that are still the same.
I can imagine
do it, but...
a cross section of a tub of ice cream with the build up of the sundae labeled. You have to have your base has to be your commercial understanding, and then the flavor isn't going to taste good without a decent base. And you need to have it all fit together. But it's the combination of when you take that spoon of the ice cream with the topping, with everything together, and it tastes really good. The individual bits taste good, but when you taste it together, it creates a whole other experience.
Yes. The question is, how does that look like as a diagram that goes on a PowerPoint slide?
Well, a cross section of a sundae.
Maybe.
Man, you just need to do it and then see where it goes.
Oh yeah, sure.
Okay. I think we'll call it to a close there.
Absolutely. That was long enough.
No.
Have a great Sunday.
I will, man. So good.